Deleted session, November 29, 1978. Good evening. Now, I have spoken about this before. When you watch, say, the news on television, you must keep in mind several important issues. Despite the perhaps deplorable conditions being televised, whether of wars, massacres, graft, or whatever, the great inventiveness of man's mind is responsible for that technological achievement, and it is an achievement of great import, for the world can no longer hide one portion of itself from another. Events that appear senseless demand some kind of explanation, and the explanations of the official world no longer content its members. The massacre of the Jews in the Second World War, in the numbers that existed, would not happen now, for the eyes of the world could not be kept out now, as they were then. The selected newscasts shown in theaters in the Second World War were quite censored, but the aggressive praise and its corps do now indeed serve in their own way as an invisible police force. No country can really keep them out. There will be a television camera somewhere, and the most secret atrocities will find their way into the public eye. There is no longer any assurance of secrecy in the broadest terms, for nefarious acts of politics or government. Man's inventiveness, often a partner to his duplicity, has also invented, then, a method to ensure that no crimes can be hidden, and has taken steps to shine a spotlight upon those areas of life that blot man's experience. Those, for example, at Jonestown become symbols of social, religious, and political unrest. They died quite simply, knowing beneath it all that they were not annihilating their consciousnesses, but bringing a given life to a conclusion in protest against certain conditions that exist to some extent among many others. Rao noted, here Seth refers to the mass suicide in Guyana mentioned in the last session. See the Time magazine on file. They said the flaws of religion in its organized form are often far more hidden than those of government. They are here brought into the light, flashed into millions of living rooms. Your sciences, religions, and your culture has brought you into a peculiar position. Forget your problems and they will go away. This is considered the most intellectually asinine. Ralph noted, amused. They said Pollyanna-like statement, at best a misleading phrase, encouraging laziness, and at its worst it is considered a cruel misstatement of fact. How do you solve the problems? Your culture says that you concentrate upon them, look for evidence of them everywhere. Contrast man's position with an ideal state, curse your ignorance, and search for evidence of man's sinful nature. And many who do not believe in religion per se certainly believe in man's sinful nature, though perhaps giving it a more scientific name. So, your culture believes that by publicizing crimes of whatever nature, you will somehow eradicate them. Now, to some extent, because of beliefs, because of the public's new knowledge through television of new nefarious acts, some governments do refrain from the more spectacular crimes. Overall, however, the concentration upon any problem, upon its negative aspects, automatically increases the problem. Rao noted heartedly. They said to concentrate upon probable solutions is something else again. I say the same thing to you so often, because in one way or another I hope to get through the opposite accumulation of seeming evidence to the contrary. For you are everywhere surrounded by it. Forget your problems and they will go away. That almost sounds like the babbling of a child or an idiot. It certainly sounds unintellectual, like wishful thinking of the most sentimental variety. Mothers tell children to forget their troubles, the children, not realizing how dumb their poor mothers really are, often do just that, and discover that their problems do indeed disappear. If you worry about the world, you can somehow perhaps save it, or so many people think. If you don't worry about the world, you are considered unfeeling, and it certainly seems ridiculous to imagine that the world can somehow take care of itself and even remedy whatever damage it thinks man has done to it. But no, it seems that worrying will get you someplace. It provides impetus, and so it does, by promoting further problems. You are used to thinking, however, that worry is an acceptable method of showing concern for private or public affairs. The best thing you can do for yourself, or your loved ones, or the world is to stop worrying, and hence release all of the negative thoughts therein generated. The foolhardy, the brave, the utterly courageous might even take a step further and imagine that whatever problem is involved no longer exists, or to pretend that it will go away, for in any case it is not as bad as I thought. Some other more courageous souls might decide to balance their input, and if the news is bad, to turn their attention to the joys of the day, which are indeed immediately present. Now I can't, nor would I want to, turn you into children again, but you have a natural optimism, both of you, a creature optimism, with which all are innately equipped. That nature optimism is a power in the individual and in the world. It believes in triumphant, in pleasant, unpredictable surprises, in unexpected solutions, joyful occurrences. It is like the child's anticipation of Christmas Eve, and it is biologically ingrained. I have said again much of this before, but this is an update. Neither of you do yourselves service by worrying about Rupert's condition, worrying that it might worsen in the future or in your old ages, or by stretching its negative aspects. You might each secretly believe that such worrying will frighten Rupert enough to make him do something, and that is hardly the case, for worrying always increases stress. Whenever possible, minimize the impediments in your minds. Now Rupert has started doing that. At least keep in mind what I have said, for it is true. To the extent that you forget the problem, it will vanish. Physically, Rupert is improving, as you can see. But he used a stimulus of fear, the fear that otherwise he might be bedridden. Whenever he remembers framework 2, there are sudden, significant improvements. I want him to imagine a box, and each day simply to imagine he puts into it a sheet of paper that says, "Of course, I walk normally." Do it as a joke, or whatever. Now you remember his ribs hurt him for 10 days or so, and then that discomfort largely vanished. For a while he had trouble in the morning getting the chair out of the bedroom, because of the difficulty with the left leg, and that vanished. This is since the exercises began. The left arm for some time was considerably tied in knots from the elbow down. It was one hard mass, say, that has largely broken up, leaving you with only the two lumps that change sizes. They are knotted into masses, loose and disintegrating, but presently aggravated by strain as Rubert's weight on the walking table bruises those ligaments and muscles. The entire area, however, began to release with a large mass break-up after the soreness in Rubert's ribs, for the ribs expanded, relieving pressure on that arm. He will shortly be able to add other exercises in straightening out the knees further, and though he did not tell you, he has now and then tried and felt new loosening. He places his weight often upon his hands, increasing circulation there, bringing about the flash of color. But this only occurs with certain arm motions that suddenly release blood to the hands. That is, that release it more suddenly than he is accustomed to. Now his sight has not deteriorated. It is potentially as good as ever. People use certain portions of their bodies to reflect stress, and Rubber did this with the neck areas in particular, with his astigmatism. The slightest variations of muscular activity become apparent, so that vision is affected one way or another. The attitudes I am recommending this evening will greatly help, for the neck area is extremely important, both in the eye condition and the walking. As soon as Ruber cut down on his worrying for a day or so, he was crowded with creative ideas. He needs your help there, not in ignoring, say, the condition of the world, but by putting that in perspective and by balancing it out by a determined effort to enjoy each day and to not let your worries minimize simple pleasures. Enjoyments are health-promoting. Rupert's best is his best in framework too, of course, with a slot for his suggestions. Did I answer all of your questions? Ra said, yes, very good. They said, I bid you a fond good evening. Ra said, good night, said, thank you. They said, one note. Framework 2 shows itself in your frame of reference through play, unpredictability, surprises. Now, you know that people who simply refuse to accept the existence of clairvoyance, say, will not find any evidence for it. They will not allow it to invade their world, even though they may say they seek such evidence. You must, therefore, remember framework 2. Look for signs of its existence, for surprises, for unexpected solutions in any and all areas. Otherwise, you will only be left with the world's official evidence. You must be prepared to change, to grow, even to give up habits. The old world view, the official one, may still be comforting you, for it is shared by millions and of station.